So with all the fear and the panic and the hoopla out of the way, let us try and discuss what occurred this week on AEW Dynamite. Because this may be very well the last AEW Dynamite recap I put together, just simply due to the fact that we're unsure of what's going to happen. And more news should come out today officially, especially with events already predetermined far in advance. They have to announce to the fans what's going to be going on. So last night, AEW Dynamite's main focus was once again on the Inner Circle. So we're going to cover the Inner Circle, right? You knew going into the show you had Cody Rhodes taking on Ortiz, and that was the first match to kick off the show. Cody Rhodes and Ortiz doing battle, continuing the feud and continuing to build towards Blood and Guts, which is supposed to take place March 25th in Rochester, New Jersey. Like I said, Blood and Guts, we'll see what happens. An official announcement should be made within the next couple of days concerning that event. So Cody Rhodes and Ortiz do battle. It's a good back and forth classic wrestling match. Submissions are applied. High stakes are made aware. The fans are into it. That's what makes AEW so special, is the fact that the fans know that what you're doing in the ring is honest, it's original, and the wrestlers involved are passionate, super passionate about what they're putting on in terms of performance. Nothing feels half-assed, nothing feels sloppy, nothing feels as though it's being written or told by a director. This is these guys going out there and giving the best possible performances that they believe they could give without any restrictions. So during this match, out comes Jake the Snake Roberts and Lance Archer. For those of you who remember, Jake the Snake came out last week and cut a promo saying that he's got a client and his client is coming in real soon. And when the time comes, his client is going to make Cody beg for his career and he's going to beat him down. Lo and behold, Jake's client is none other than Lance Archer. I spoke about Lance Archer last week and I put the two and two together, suggesting that Lance Archer is most likely going to be the client of Jake the Snake, just simply because Jake is such a talent on the mic. And let's let Lance Archer focus on the in-ring aspect of the game for the time being, and until it is necessary to break them apart. And AEW continues to do great work with having legends play managerial roles. It adds a specific dynamic that is missing from the WWE programming and has been missing for years. There's nobody better to add to a young talent's career than a living legend who can boost their value over the course of the business, over the course of the year. So Lance Archer comes out and he's watching Cody, just doing a scouting report, taking some notes. He's sitting in the fans. There's a little moment where Lance wants to jump the barricade when Cody hits Ortiz with a front suplex onto the steel ramp, but Jake the Snake calms him down, talks him down from attacking Cody. Eventually, as the match progresses, Lance Archer and Jake the Snake walk to the back, leaving Cody Rhodes to continue wrestling the match. They've seen enough. They took the notes they needed, and we're gonna keep slow build, my friends. This is what a slow build is. You don't have to have the guy come out and attack him immediately. Doing the little necessary steps. He comes out, he watches, teases potential attack, walks away. Slow build. This is what it is. We're building slowly. So Ortiz and Cody Rhodes continue to do battle. The finish comes when Cody locks in a figure four leg lock onto Ortiz, and Ortiz taps out. I thought the match was really hard hitting. They hit the 10-minute mark, and then at about the 12-minute mark, the submission was applied, and I was really surprised to see Ortiz tap out to the figure four. It just felt deflated the way I felt, and like I say, deflated. That's just my opinion. People may have enjoyed that finish, but I just didn't. I just felt strange. Cody normally wins with a crossroads, or he's got that an alternative finisher. But to see him apply to figure four and to see Ortiz tap so quickly was a little strange, and I was taken aback by that finish. But the match itself was good. Besides the finish, which I take issue to, the match itself was good. The following the finish of the match, having the Inner Circle attack Cody Rhodes, have Santana get in the ring and to exact revenge, which was then followed by Matt Jackson coming out for the save, and also Kenny Omega coming out for the save was a nice touch. Look, within 20 minutes, they had a hell of a match, Cody and Ortiz. Cody picks up the victory, getting one up on the Inner Circle. The Inner Circle gets one up on the Elite by beating them down in the ring, but then the Elite gets one up on the Inner Circle by outmanning them and taking them down until Chris Jericho appears on the Titantron, on the monitor, on the screen, and says to Cody, "You think you've won the war, but you haven't even started." And he reveals a beaten Nick Jackson being crushed between the garage door and blood pouring from his mouth. The Inner Circle continues to dominate in ways a heel should dominate. Once you think you've got the upper hand, they're already 2 steps ahead of you. That's smart booking. That's smart heel booking. That's something that's been missing from pro wrestling, mainstream pro wrestling. The heels tend to look stupid and foolish where they don't have a backup plan. This was some good old-fashioned wrestling booking where you send your first half of your team out there. They may take a beating, but the other half has already got a diabolical plan. And they had Nick Jackson rushed off to the hospital and Matt Jackson following suit. So there we're just taking out 2 people from from AEW tonight, from Dynamite. You got Matt and Nick, who've both left to go to the hospital to check on the severity of the damage, and you continue to build towards the potential blood and guts match on March 25th with the Inner Circle getting the upper hand over the Elite to kick off the show. Very nicely done. I don't think there could have been a better opener than what we just saw. You opened it with the way we closed. We closed the show with a double powerbomb onto John Moxley, with the powerbomb onto John Moxley through the table off the stage, and the Elite and the Inner Circle standing tall at the end of the show. And you started this show with the Inner Circle standing tall once again, above Nick Jackson and getting one up on the Elite. That's some smart ass booking. Cody gets a victory, but at the end of the day, the Inner Circle wins the battle and continues the war. After the opener match, we moved on to... It was Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida taking on Bea Priestley and your women's champion Nyla Rose in a tag team matchup as your second matchup of the night. These women are working hard. You know, it's easy for me to say that the women are the lowest point of AEW Dynamite and the lowest point of the AEW roster because their storylines don't seem to have any meaning or purpose behind it. But that's not true. Look, I know a lot of the audience feels that way, but they put in the work each and every single night. And this matchup showed the extreme nature and what these women have to offer. You had 4 of the best women doing battle in a competitive tag team matchup, which ended with one of the most hellacious spears by Nyla Rose. It practically took this girl's head off, if not took her head off. And then she finished it with her vicious powerbomb to get the 1, 2, 3. And after that, Bea Priestley got the upper hand and attacked Nyla Rose, standing tall over her, which even shocked Nyla Rose because here's her tag team partner, and her tag team partner is turning on her. And turning on her because she wants the women's title. That's what wrestling is about. It's about big money matches, and it's about being the best and being the champion. And it's good to see that AEW is well aware over what pro wrestling is really about, and that's about titles. Friendships come and go, but championships stay forever. So it's nice to see Bea Priestley not just standing tall and celebrating with Nyla, especially when Nyla has been the most dominant badass woman on the roster and doesn't give a damn if you're bad or good or if you like her or not. She'll just beat your ass. So to see her Bea Priestley standing tall over Nia holding the title, it means that there is a future title opportunity and a future title match between the two coming down the line a lot sooner or later, depending once again on the situation with the coronavirus. Following the women's tag team match, we followed that up with another tag team match, which happens to be AEW's MO as of late, or Teddy Long's MO. It's tag team mania. So we were gifted with the Butcher and the Blade, with MJF taking on the Jungle Express, Marco Stunt, Luchasaurus, and Jungle Boy, Jack Perry. It was your typical 6-man tag team match. Everyone got their spots in. Everyone got their big moves in. Luchasaurus looked like the big dominating guy who was taking out 2 guys at a time until the heels took him down, isolated Luchasaurus, worked on the leg. But at the end of the day, the fact that MJF, the Butcher, and the Blade had Wardlow and the Bunny in their corner, the odds were stacked against the Lucha Express. The Jungle Express. and MJF locked on the cross-arm breaker on Marco Stunt for the tap out, giving the heels the victory. There was too much going on for anyone to handle, too much for Jungle Express to handle. The heels are dominant, and they stand tall over everyone. But the point I was trying to get is, I get that AEW wants to get as many people on the roster on TV as possible, but there's a lot of tag team action going on. We had a women's tag team match, we had a 6-man tag team match, we had another tag team match, and we main evented with another tag team match. Might as well call AEW Tag Team Wrestling at this point. I get the idea to continue into further feuds, but we need to have, I don't know, less tag team matches. So Darby Allin cuts a strange promo where you see him wearing a Chris Jericho mask. You got Sammy Guevara, masked individual, in his duffel bag, body bag, and the body bag is just dragged across a farmland by a 4x4 truck. I don't know what this is to mean. I don't know what's to come of this, but Darby Allin looks like he's out for revenge once he's cleared, and he's not done with the Inner Circle, and he's not done with Sammy Guevara just yet. And then we continue, then we cut to one of my favorite parts of AEW, and that happens to be the dynamic between Tony Schiavone and Britt Baker. Sorry, Dr. DMD Britt Baker. Britt Baker comes out, she cuts a promo like she does each and every single week, insulting the fans, the current AEW fans that are in attendance in Salt Lake City, which then leads to Big Swole coming out and saying, oh, you got something to say now. And very interesting dynamic to see Britt Baker hide behind Tony Schiavone once Big Swole made her appearance. Right now, Britt Baker, outside of Nyla Rose, is your biggest heel for the women's division. Fans hate her, and fans have all the right to hate her. She's a piece of shit. Her character is a piece of shit. She's snobby. She thinks she's better than everyone. She thinks she's hotter than everyone. And that is exactly the type of character you need in the women's division. Someone who stands out amongst the rest. And Big Swole is probably is the right girl to have go up against her. She's your typical hard-working individual who's just trying to make a name in the business, and she's tired of listening to people talk. She wants, either listen, you're going to talk or you're going to fight. Make up your mind, and Big Swole's here to fight, not to talk. But once again, I love the dynamic between Tony Schiavone and Britt Baker. I don't know where it's heading. I don't know if there's any major plans to maybe like have them as a unit or something happen down the line. But I love to watch it each and every single week. She gets good insults on Tony, and Tony does a good job at standing there looking confused and trying to get one up on Britt Baker, which always fails to deliver. I expect to see a potential matchup between Britt Baker and Big Swole on a future AEW Dynamite. It's just a matter of when it happens. The segment ended with Britt Baker throwing coffee into Big Swole's face and then throwing the cup back to Tony Schiavone as if to say that he's the one who attacked you, but really it wasn't him. So I expect to see Britt Baker taking on Dr. Britt Baker, DMD Britt Baker, taking on Big Swole on a future AEW event, whenever that may be. Once we get more news concerning AEW's future schedule. Following the Britt Baker segment, we headed into another 6-man tag match featuring Private Party and Joey Janela taking on the newly formed Death Triangle. The Triangle de la Morte, as they like to call it. This was their official debut as a team. And look, this match we know how good the Death Triangle is as a unit. We know how good Private Party and Joey Janela are. I was watching Joey Janela's movement, and Joey Janela reminds me a lot of a young Chris Jericho in the ring. He's got the physique, he's got the look, he's got everything of what a young Chris Jericho was back in the early 2000s. He's got a bright future in this business. He's still young, so he's going to continue to grow, and he's going to continue to get better on the mic and in the ring. And once he gets that push, and once it's time to go and he's pushed as a top talent, and the fans are connecting with him, I expect big things from Joey Janela in the near future. The Lucha Bros and Neville and Pac, three of the best in-ring competitors, three of the best high flyers, three of the best wrestlers who give you the most entertaining story, and they continue to do what they do. This 6-man tag match was the Wild Wild West. It was full speed ahead, high flying spots, big moves, high drama, Everything was accelerated times 1,000. You had the Lucha Bros and the Bastard teaming up, making their debut, and going into this, you had to figure that they were going to make a successful debut as a team, because to have them lose wouldn't make much sense, especially on a newly formed team. This is not WWE television. We don't form a tag team and then we just get them to lose. We do smart booking here, where we build for the future, and we know that a heel team or any team that is newly formed needs to pick up a victory. They can't just form a tag team and then lose. So these 3 men, all 6 men, give a hell of a performance. The fans are loving it. The fans are going nuts. The fans are loving the spots. The fans are enjoying themselves, because this is everything they thought it would be. At the end of the day, the Lucha Bros hit their finisher, hit the pile drive drop kick, followed by the Red Arrow by Pac, and after that, it's all she wrote. It's 1, 2, 3. Death Triangle picks up the first victory. They lock in the Death Triangle submission on Private Party and Joey Janela, standing tall above the rest. Out comes Orange Cassidy and Best Friends for the save. They stand tall as the Death Triangle runs off scurrying. And we're building to a potential 6-man tag match between the Death Triangle and Orange Cassidy and Best Friends. This is no surprise. This is a feud that's continuing to boil over the last few weeks, and it's a feud that's going to continue to boil until they come to a head. But just looking at these highlights right now, these guys, they flow so well. There's something about AEW Wrestling, Private Party, Joey Janela, and the Lucha Bros and that Triangle. I mean, they flow so well. Everything seems as if it's just natural. You don't feel as though everything's been choreographed, predetermined, or done prior. Everything is happening in the ring, and it's just so smooth in terms of transitions, movement, and everything else that occurs in the ring. And you gotta love that. When everything feels smooth and everything feels original and flows so well, it's a fucking interesting dynamic, and it makes wrestling so much fun. That Triangle picks up the victory. We follow that one up with an interview. Jim Ross sits down with Jon Moxley to get his thoughts on what happened last week. John's not pleased, obviously. He wished he could be in the arena, but he's not, because he has not been cleared by the doctors officially, and he hopes to be there next week, and he wants to exact some revenge on Chris Jericho in the Inner Circle. The feud's not done with Jericho. Expect to see another title match in the near future, if not at their pay-per-view Double or Nothing that is upcoming. After the 6-man tag match, we cut to a promo by Dustin Rhodes, who announces himself as Hangman Page's mystery partner. He steps up. He's like, you know what? I've had enough with the Inner Circle. I'm stepping up as your tag team partner, whether you like it or not, and I'm coming after the Inner Circle. Hey, look, from a storyline perspective, it made the most sense to have someone from the Elite team up with Hangman Page, and to have Dustin Rhodes team up with Hangman Page, who's been having issues with the Inner Circle and Jake Hager. It made all the more sense to have him as the tag team partner. From a fan's perspective, we would have wished there was a returning or a new debuting superstar, someone original, someone fresh, someone interesting, someone special, someone shocking, someone of a surprise. But Dustin Rhodes getting the nod, we respect that. He is a legend and deserves these big time opportunities. And continues the storyline. Like I said, Inner Circle versus the Elite. Versus the Elite. This is the storyline to continue. Before the official announcement of Rochester, New York canceling all major events of more than 500 people, and the official announcement of Rochester canceling the event itself, which has not come officially from AEW, so we'll see what they have planned. It was announced that the Exalted One would make his debut next week on AEW, and at the same time, it would be a 6-man tag match between the Inner Circle versus the Elite for the opportunity to have the advantage at the Blood and Guts event in New Jersey. All of these, once again, are pending once we find out more information as to what is going to happen with AEW's upcoming events. But otherwise, we were looking like we were going to have ourselves a stacked AEW card for next week. But like I said, we'll get more news over the next couple of weeks, and I'll try and keep you all informed as this news comes out. The rules for the Blood and Guts match were announced. 2 men will enter the cage for one 5-minute round. Following the 1 5-minute round, every 2 minutes another participant would enter the cage. Following the 2-minute mark, the match would only become official after all 10 men have entered the cage, which therefore the match can only be won by pinfall, submission, or surrender, or death, I guess. That's why at what was supposed to be next week's AEW event, the 6-man tag match was going to determine who was going to get the advantage, aka who was going to be the first person to come out to help the tag team once the 5-minute time limit expires. Then we headed to our main event of the evening, which was Dustin Rhodes, Hangman Adam Page taking on Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara in your main event. This had all the makings of a hard-hitting back-and-forth battle. Look, with the history and with the feud that continues to boil over between the Elite and the Inner Circle, this match was none other than a hard-hitting battle between all 4 competitors, everyone trying to get an advantage leading into the Blood and Guts event and Blood and Guts cage match. Chris Jericho continues to look like the leader of the heel group, dominating and battling and just being a dirty scoundrel in terms of what is allowed and what is not allowed in a match. But I just want to say that finish, Canadian Destroyer by Dustin Rhodes, followed by the Buckshot Lariat, was picture perfect. It was a fucking amazing way to end a match. To get the 1, 2, 3, which then leads to the Inner Circle attacking the 2 men in the ring, Hangman Adam Page and Sammy Guevara. They get the upper hand on these 2 men. As you know, Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson are not in the arena. They were rushed to the hospital due to the severity of Nick Jackson's attack earlier on the show. So this show is looking like AEW Dynamite's looking to close out with the Inner Circle once again standing tall over everyone. The numbers are on their advantage. No one can stop them. They're rough. They're thugs. It's exactly what Chris Jericho said the first time around. These guys are the most dominant force, and they're going to beat the shit out of anyone, and there's nothing you can do to stop them. Kenny Omega comes out with his broken finger, tries to fight off the Elite as best as he can, but Chris Jericho and the Inner Circle, just too much to handle. Jericho hits the Judas effect on Kenny Omega, knocking him down. It's just a 5-on-3 battle. Jericho hits the code breaker. Out comes Cody Rhodes. I guess returning from the hospital. He tries to clean up house, but it's just too much to handle. The Elite cannot overcome the odds. Jericho and the Inner Circle have made it clear that one by one, they're going to take out members of the Elite until there's no one left standing, and until the Inner Circle are the only group standing tall, which is smart strategy. Take out everyone one by one. Break down the pieces. Break down everyone that poses a threat to you until there's no one left to help you. Ortiz gets revenge on Cody for suplexing him on the ramp by suplexing him back on the ramp. This was a perfect ending to a show that started off with the Inner Circle standing tall. The Inner Circle needed to continue to look like a dominant force to the point where you start to question, what is it going to take for the Elite to be victorious? What is it going to take? And I think the answer for the Elite to be victorious at the Blood and Guts pay-per-view is honestly going to take Jon Moxley's involvement. John may not have any friends, but with everyone doing battle against the Elite and with everyone having issues with the Elite, this makes the most sense. John comes out for the save eventually. So Jericho grabs a chair and does something I haven't seen in a while, and he knocks everyone in the head. We had head chair shots. We don't get that from WWE or wrestling anymore outside of Impact Wrestling. Jericho hits Hangman with the chair to the head, hits Cody with the chair to the head, hits Omega with the chair to the head. He lays everyone out with a chair to the head. The end of the show with building up a potential throwing him off the ramp with a powerbomb, as we saw the week before to Jon Moxley, which has also kept him out of action. But out comes Matt Jackson, who returns from the hospital. Apparently the hospital wasn't that far. Matt Jackson comes out for the save, trying to fight off the Elite, landing the Inner Circle, landing super kicks, throwing around everybody. But just too much to handle, like I said. When the Inner Circle is standing tall and it's a 5-on-1 over everybody, you can't fight off 5 men, especially when the Inner Circle is picking them apart one by one and hurting them one by one. The biggest moment continues to build between Matt Jackson and Hangman Page. Matt Jackson points the finger to Hangman Page, telling him, F you. I didn't come out to save you. I still hate your guts. I came out to help my boys the Inner Circle, which then led to both of them being distracted and Jericho landing vicious chair shots to stand tall over everyone. AEW ends with the Inner Circle looking like the baddest group on the planet. You know what made the NWO so dominant? Was the fact that they were booked this way. And you know what makes the Inner Circle so dominant? Is the fact that they continue to point legitimately the finger to the fans and to their opponents and those who oppose them. That's how we build heels, and that's what makes us hate them. Take out the guys we love and can make them each and every single week stand tall and look like a force and look as though, what is it going to take to stop them? Who is going to stop them? They're unstoppable. Tune in next week to find out if someone can do something, because this, my friends, is going on, and there's not a single individual person that could stop the Inner Circle. This is going to take a team effort. That's how you end the show. You end the show with everyone looking as strong and as good as possible. You end the show with everyone looking strong. The Elite looked strong trying to battle as a team, and when they were a cohesive unit, they could stand tall as shown in a tag team match. They could stand tall and pick up a victory. But when individually challenged by the Inner Circle, they do not stand a chance. With that said, that was your AEW recap of what took place on Dynamite March 10th, 2020. We'll see, like I said, with the coronavirus just canceling all sports and canceling almost everything going on in the world at this point. Our priority is safety and health. At the same time, the wrestlers and everyone in all the sports, well, specifically wrestling, because wrestling is different in terms of payment structure. Combat sports, we're going to see what continues to happen with California announcing that they're going to put a ban on all combat sports for the time being for at least 30 days. We'll see what happens with AEW Wrestling's next week's event. Will it go on? Will it take place somewhere else? Will it take place, like I said, in the DDP Yoga Center? Will it take place at the Hardy Compound? A lot of opportunities or a lot of various venues are available to them if they consider it, if they think about it. If not, I guess we're going to postpone all future AEW events till a later date. But these wrestlers need to make a living, and they make a living based on appearance and based on meet and greets. And if all of this gets canceled, their only other source of revenue is through merchandise sales. And if you're not on television, it's tough to sell merchandise if no one is really aware of what merchandise you're selling. I'll keep you all posted over the course of the week as to what's going on in the pro wrestling world with the coronavirus situation. If there's an announcement today, expect to see an announcement on my official Twitter, All Wrestling Ma 1, officially titled All Wrestling Mania. Expect a tweet on that, and expect an update talking about what's next for the pro wrestling event if future events, if WrestleMania is canceled, if future Raw and SmackDowns are canceled, and if AEW Dynamite, future Dynamite events are officially canceled or postponed or not being held in different locations. With everything going on, I wish you all health, safety, and take care of yourselves as the number one priority. I'm JP signing out for AWMania, AEW Dynamite Recap.